अस्मद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुग्म व्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोः भगवतोः अस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। अस्मद्गुरुसमारम्भां यतिशेखरमध्यमां लक्ष्मीवल्लभपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Dear and respected devotees of Lord Sriman Narayana and Ramanuja, assembled great Acharyas, audience Acharyan Ramanuja Swami, and I start by paying obeisances to all of the people assembled here to talk for a few minutes on one aspect of Ramanuja. Our Ramanuja Swami asked me this morning to talk about any incident about Ramanuja. So I thought the most apt for us to share and enjoy together would be the relationship that Ramanuja had with Kanchipurna. This was early on in Ramanuja's life, and this was formative for Ramanuja. So I thought I will spend maybe about 10 minutes to 15 minutes talking about the situation, the environment in which Ramanuja grew up, and how his relationship with Kanchipurna developed, and how that was instrumental in Ramanuja's own thinking as well as his philosophy of equality as he brought it to us. Now this was around 1030 AD or so. Ramanuja probably was about 14, 15, maybe a little bit older. At that time he was in Kanchipuram. Kanchipuram, as many of you know, is the place of Lord Varadaraja. A beautiful temple is there. Even today, if you go, you can see a big temple there. A lot of temples are there in that town. About 18 Divyadesams are present in Kanchipuram. There, Ramanuja was learning under Yadava Prakasha, who was teaching the Upanishads to Ramanuja, but he was teaching them a version of Advaita. Yadava Prakasha Mata itself, it is called. It is mostly Advaita Mata. It is qualified monism. It is monism, not even qualified. It is monism, but somewhat different from what Shankara taught, but still it is Advaita. At that time, Kanchipurna was doing some service to Lord Varadaraja. Now it is important to remember, this was in the 1020 AD, that kind of time frame. Kanchipurna lived in a place called Poovirindavalli. It is called Poonamalli today in Tamil. It's about 40-45 kilometers from Kanchipuram. He was born in a merchant family, very rich merchant family, but he was drawn to the pasurams of Alvars, and he was drawn to the teachings of Sri Vaishnavam, and he was a direct Sishya, direct disciple of the great Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya had many Sishyas. The 5 prominent Sishyas who actually taught Ramanuja, all of us know. Mahapurna, Goshtipurna, like that. In addition, he had wonderful Sishyas like Kanchipurna as well as Maraneri Nambi, whom he treated on par with the other Sishyas and taught them all the secrets and all the richness of the Sampradaya. Kanchipurna learnt about the Alvar Divya Prabandham from Alavandar, learnt about the principles of the Sampradaya and equality from Alavandar, and he came to Kanchipuram and he did service to Lord Varadaraja every day. The introducer here talked about all Perumals wanting to enjoy with flowers. Kanchipurna actually started doing that Kainkaryam only. He actually grew a garden. He had flowers, tulasi, and then he used to bring them every day to Lord Varadaraja from a long distance and give it to Lord Varadaraja. As he was doing that, he and Varadaraja became very close. It is said that they were so close that Varadaraja used to talk to Kanchipurna every day. Kanchipurna, in addition to giving him garlands, used to do the fanning service. In those days, there was no electricity, right? So he used to have a fan made of peacock feathers, and then he used to fan Lord Varadaraja every day. After the morning Tiruvaradhana is over, everybody will go, only Kanchipurna will be there, and he will be doing fanning service to Lord Varadaraja. They were so close that it is said that Varadaraja and Kanchipurna spoke to each other like friends. It is said that if, for example, some Archaka on that day did Archana or did the Kainkaryam very fast or very curtly, Varadaraja used to remark to Kanchipurna, is there some problem at his home? Did he get into fight with some family member? Because today he was rushing. He did not take proper care. That amount of closeness Kanchipurna had with Varadaraja. And of course, Kanchipurna also was reciting Divya Prabandham at any given point in time, and he was known as somebody who knew the Arvar Prabandham as well as the Sishya of Yamunacharya. It is in this environment that Ramanuja came to Kanchipuram after learning from Yadava Prakasa and after getting married. And Ramanuja was always curious about Arvar's works. He had heard about them. But then his true introduction to Arvar's works and the Sampradaya came from Kanchipurna only because of his interaction every day. Kanchipurna was such a humble person while doing service to Lord Srimanarayana, Lord Varadaraja there, that Ramanuja used to be very impressed with him, and he used to talk to him every day. He used to ask him, what did Yamunacharya say? What does this Arvar say? Who are the Arvars? What do they teach? And Kanchipurna used to tell him like a friend all the things that he learned from Yamunacharya. Ramanuja was so impressed with Kanchipurna that he said that he requested Kanchipurna to be his direct Acharya. He asked Kanchipurna that I have learnt a little bit of Upanishads and other things from Yadava Prakasa, but what you are teaching me through Yamunacharya is actually close to my heart. It is changing me. Can you be my Acharya? Kanchipurna at that point in time, he said, wait for the right time, you will get the right Acharya. Because he was a Sishya of Yamunacharya, and Kanchipurna knew that big things were in store for Ramanuja. But he continued to guide Ramanuja every day. Every day, Ramanuja used to take water to the temple in Lord Varadaraja's temple, and Kanchipurna used to do fanning service. They used to talk. Now, during that time frame, Ramanuja wanted to honor Kanchipurna. He wanted to honor Kanchipurna like we honor any Acharya. How do we honor an Acharya? By inviting the Acharya home, feeding them prasadam, and then taking the leftover. That is the biggest service, one of the biggest services that one can offer to an Acharya. And Ramanujacharya requested Kanchipurna to do him the honor of taking prasadam at his home and giving the leftover prasadam to Ramanuja. In the social setup of those days, this was not done because Kanchipurna was not born in a Brahmin family. However, Ramanuja did not care about this. In fact, when he asked Kanchipurna to be an Acharya, his Acharya, that itself was against all social norms at that point in time. And Ramanujacharya showed how great he was. Not only how great he was, he also showed how great Kanchipurna was. And Kanchipurna differed at that point in time. Again, when Ramanuja requested Kanchipurna to come to his home to partake prasadam, Kanchipurna every day, he will give one excuse or the other, and then he will say, no, later, I will see some other day, I will come day after tomorrow, I will come tomorrow, I am busy, so on and so forth. But then Ramanuja would not relent. Every day he will request him. So what Kanchipurna did one day was, in the temple, when Ramanuja was doing service, Kanchipurna just went to Ramanuja's home. Even today, if you go to Lord Varadaraja's temple, let's say the temple is here, the temple faces west. On the eastern entrance of the temple, just outside eastern entrance of the temple is where Ramanuja's home was and still is. If you go to Kanchipuram today, definitely go there. You can see where Ramanuja lived. That place is still there. And to come from the temple, you have to come in a pradakshana way. You have to go outside the temple from the west and then come around the temple and then come to the Ramanuja's home. When Ramanuja was busy, Kanchipurna just came to his home. He just went around and came to Ramanuja's home. Ramanuja had asked his wife to prepare food. She came, she offered food to Kanchipurna, and then Kanchipurna immediately left. For reasons we don't know, he just left immediately. When Ramanuja came, she said Kanchipurna had come and gone. Ramanuja was very sad. He said, I miss serving him in person, but that's okay. This is Emberuman's wish. But can I partake the leftover prasadam? Can you please give that to me? But Ramanuja's wife, as was the practice of those days, what she did was, after Kanchipurna ate, the leftovers she had given the food to somebody else. And she started cooking new for Ramanuja. Ramanuja was shocked to see her cooking new food. And then he felt very, very sad. And he felt that he had done something wrong, otherwise he would have gotten the chance to partake the prasadam of Kanchipurna. And he expressed that to his wife. And in fact, that was the start of Ramanuja trying to go to sannyasa, because he knew that if he stayed in grihastha life, following the social norms will not allow him to do his mission. And that was, in fact, one of the key starting points for Ramanuja to think about sannyasa ashrama. This relationship, the foundational relationship with Kanchipurna, that actually was started by Yamunacharya, because Yamunacharya was the direct acharya of Kanchipurna. He taught him everything. He was the direct acharya of Maraneri Nambi. He taught him everything. That came to Ramanuja. So the principle of equality, the Alvar's works, the fact that humility and knowledge is what matters and nothing else, all these things were reinforced and taught to Ramanuja by Kanchipurna. And Kanchipurna, by his own behavior and humility, taught Ramanuja how a learned person should be. So if you look at Ramanuja's long life of 120 years, these early times, when he was probably between 16 and 21 or 24, when he had this connection with Kanchipurna, that was foundational and instrumental in making Ramanuja who Ramanuja is today. And not only that, somebody had to go to Yamunacharya to tell about Ramanuja, saying that here is a great person who actually can learn from you and take the next mantle for the Sampradaya. If you look at history, the only person who could have said that is Kanchipurna, because he was in constant touch with Alavandar, and he would have told him. So all in all, if you take Ramanuja's life, what I wanted to share with you in the 12-13 minutes today was that Kanchipurna was the foundational influence in Ramanuja, whether it is about equality or whether it is even about the Sampradayam. I will not go into detail now, but many of you might have heard that Ramanuja had doubts about what the true Sampradaya was. He asked that to Kanchipurna. Kanchipurna in his discussion with Varadaraja said that Ramanuja had some doubts. Varadaraja gave Kanchipurna the inspiration, and Kanchipurna cleared Ramanuja's doubts on Vedanta, which actually forms the basis of Ramanuja's interpretation of Vedanta. So Kanchipurna, even though he was not a Brahmin, was the foundational influence for Ramanuja. He accepted Ramanuja, Ramanuja accepted him. That is the example that they have left for us to follow. So with these few words, I just wanted to add, Ramanuja Swami, when I came up here, asked me to speak 1 minute about Anantarvan, the ancestor to whose lineage I belong to. He particularly wanted me to emphasize one point, which was when Ramanuja asked, will anybody go to Tirumala and do service? Nobody did at that point in time. And the reason to do that was because Tirumala in those days was a complete forest with lots of tigers and lions and nothing to eat. It was very cold, lot of rain, and so on and so forth. And somebody had to not worry about those things and then worry only about Acharya Kainkaryam. And that's what Anantarvan did. And that's a point that he wanted me to add, so that we all can be inspired that when we have Acharya Kainkaryam as our focus, all the material things go by the wayside. So with that, I thank Dr. Ramanuja Swami to request me, who asked me, commanded me to share with you the story of Kanchipurna and his relationship with Ramanuja. If there's one thing that I will leave you with, it is this. One should never forget Kanchipurna and the relationship that he had with Ramanuja. Without Kanchipurna and his influence, we would not have Ramanuja the way he is. Jai Sriman Narayana.